channel Dear Success. Today we are going to read the first chapter of the textbook of English for class 10 CBSE. So let's start. A Letter to God by G.L. Fuentes. Now I would like to provide you a short introduction of the story. The story is about a farmer, Lenko. He lives on the top of a low hill and he owns a cornfield. The field always gave him good harvest and he was expecting this year also the same thing. But there was only one problem: lack of rain. The house, the only one in the entire valley, sat on the crest of a low hill. From this height, one could see the river and the field of ripe corn, dotted with flowers that always promised a good harvest. The only thing the earth needed was a downpour or at least a shower. Throughout the morning, Lenko, who knew his fields intimately, had done nothing but see the sky towards the northeast. What we learned from the first para is that Lenko was a good farmer. He knew his field well. He well knew that his field of corn needed a downpour or rainfall. On those days, farmers were generally dependent upon rainfall for irrigation, and Lenko's earnings were dependent upon the harvest of his field, so he was observing the sky. Let's read the text again. Now, we are really going to get some water, woman said to his wife. The house, the only one in the entire valley. Woman, who was preparing supper, replied, "Yes, God willing." The older boys were working in the field, while the smaller ones were playing near the house until the woman called to them all, "Come for dinner." It was during the meal that, just as Lenko had predicted, big drops of rain began to fall. In the northeast, huge mountains of clouds could be seen approaching. The air was fresh and sweet. The man went out for no other reason than to have the pleasure of feeling the rain on his body. And when he returned, he exclaimed, "These are not raindrops falling from the sky. They are new coins. The big drops are 10-cent pieces and the little ones are 5s." The second para tells us that Lenko told his wife about his prediction. His wife agreed to him. When they were taking their meal, suddenly rain began to fall. Lenko went out in excitement and told his family members that these were not simple raindrops. The big drops were 10-cent pieces and little ones were 5-cent pieces. What he meant by this was that the rain would brought his field good harvest, and selling that he would earn better profit. Let's read the third para. With a satisfied expression, he regarded the field of ripe corn with its flowers draped in a curtain of rain. But suddenly a strong wind began to blow, and along with the rain, very large hailstones began to fall. This truly did resemble new silver coins. The boys, exposing themselves to the rain, ran out to collect the frozen pearls. In the third para, Lenko was at first very happy. But after some time, a strong wind began to blow, and along with the rain, very large hailstones began to fall. This made Lenko upset. The hailstones truly resembled new silver coins. Now, let us read the fourth para. "It's really getting bad now," exclaimed the man. "I hope it passes quickly." It did not pass quickly. For an hour the hail rained on the house, the garden, the hillside, the cornfield, on the whole valley. The field was white, as if covered with salt. The fourth para gives the description of the hailstorm. Lenko hoped that the hail passes quickly, but it did not. It rained on the house, the garden, the hillside, the cornfield, on the whole valley for an hour, and the field was ruined by it. Now, the fifth para. Not a leaf remained on the trees. The corn was totally destroyed. The flowers were gone from the plants. Lenko's soul was filled with sadness. When the storm had passed, he stood on the middle of the field and said to his sons, "A plague of locusts would have left more than this. The hail has left nothing. This year we'll have no corn." That night was a sorrowful one. All our work for nothing. There's no one who can help us. We'll all go hungry this year. The fifth para describes about the condition of the family after losing the corn. According to Lenko, a plague of locusts would have left some corn, but the hail has left nothing. So, they will have no corn that year and they will go hungry that year. Now, let's begin the text again. But in the hearts of all who lived in that solitary house in the middle of the valley, there was a single hope, help from God. Don't be so upset, even though this seems like a total loss. Remember, no one dies of hunger. That's what they say, no one dies of hunger. From this, we could understand that the family members were expecting help from no one else than God. All through the night, Lenko thought only of his one hope, the help of God, whose eyes, as he had been instructed, see everything, even what is deep in one's conscience. Lenko was an ox of a man, working like an animal in the fields, but still he knew how to write. The following Sunday, at daybreak, he began to write a letter which he himself would carry to town and place in the mail. It was nothing less than a letter to God. Lenko was also expecting help from God. Lenko worked like an animal in the field, but still he knew how to write. And so he decided to write a letter to God, asking help from him. Let's begin the text again. God, he wrote, if you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. I need 100 pesos in order to sow my field again and to live until the crop comes, because the hailstorm ... He wrote about all his anxieties to God in this letter. He wrote to God on the envelope, put the letter inside, and still troubled, went to town. At the post office, he placed a stamp on the letter and dropped it into the mailbox. He was still confused whether to send the letter or not. Then he went to town, placed a stamp on the letter and dropped it into the mailbox. Let's read the text again. One of the employees, who was a postman and also helped at the post office, went to his boss, laughing heartily, and showed him the letter to God. Never in his career as a postman had he known the address. The postmaster, a fat, amiable fellow, also broke out laughing. But almost immediately he turned serious and, tapping the letter on his desk, commented, "What faith! I wish I had the faith of the man who wrote this letter." Starting up a corresponding with God. The letter was first read by a postman. He did not know the address of God. So, he gave the letter to the postmaster. The postmaster also broke out laughing, but he turned serious, realizing the strength of the man and his faith in God. Let's read the text again. So, in order not to shake the writer's faith in God, the postmaster came up with an idea: answer the letter. But when he opened it, it was evident that to answer it, he needed something more than goodwill, ink, and paper. But he stuck to his resolution. He asked for money from his employees. He himself gave part of his salary, and several friends of his were obliged to give something for an act of charity. The postmaster was very pleased by the writer's faith in God. He decided to answer the letter. But when he opened the letter, he understood that he needed something more than goodwill, ink, and paper, which was money. He asked for money from everyone he knew, and he himself gave part of his salary for this act of charity. Now, the next para. It was impossible for him to gather together the 100 pesos. So, he was able to send the farmer only a little more than half. He put the money in an envelope addressed to Lenko and with it a letter containing only a single word as a signature, God. After trying so much, he was able to collect only a little more than half of the money the farmer had wanted and decided to send that by a letter containing a single word as a signature, God. The postmaster didn't expose himself or the truth that he gave the money, only because he was surprised by Lenko's faith in God and he didn't want to shake it. Now, let us read the next para. The following Sunday, Lenko came a bit earlier than usual to ask if there was a letter for him. It was the postman himself who handed the letter to him. While the postmaster, experiencing the contentment of a man who has performed a good deed, looked on from his office. The postman himself handed the letter to Lenko, and the postmaster, who gave part of his salary in the letter to Lenko, was observing Lenko from his office. Let's read the text again. Lenko showed not the slightest surprise on seeing the money. Such was his confidence. But he became angry when he counted the money. God could not have made a mistake, nor could he have denied Lenko what he had requested. Lenko was not surprised when he saw the money. He became angry on seeing less money. But God could not have made a mistake, nor he could have denied Lenko what he had requested. So, there may be a mistake by the post office members. Now, the last part of the story. Immediately, Lenko went up to the window to ask for paper and ink. On the public writing table, he started to write, with much wrinkling of his brow, caused by the effort he had to make to express his ideas. When he finished, he went to the window to buy a stamp, which he licked and then affixed to the envelope with a blow of his fist. The moment the letter fell into the mailbox, the postmaster went to open it. It said, God, of the money that I asked for, only 70 pesos reached me. Send me the rest since I need it very much. But don't send it to me through the mail because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks. Lenko. This was an ironical situation, as you can see that the postmaster who gave the money was accused of taking the money by Lenko. Lenko was very much angry when he got 70 pesos and he blamed the post office employees for the mistake because he knew God have enough and he couldn't reject what Lenko had wanted. So he thought the employees must have taken the rest of the money. This was the story. I hope you have understood the whole chapter, and if you have any queries, let me know by commenting. Thank you.